questions I ask them is, if you were going to buy or sell a home personally, is there a real estate agent that you have promised your business to? Now, inspectors, appraisers, lenders, contractors, they meet with real estate agents all the time. I have never once asked that question and not had someone say, no one's ever asked me that before. So take that little gold nugget. And I've sold a lot of houses personally for lenders and inspectors, but also it's just different. It's just doing things a little bit different, and people catch on to that. So it's not very uncommon for me to ask that question of a lender, and then the next week I get a lead from them. Here's the deal. If your wife's a realtor and that money's coming into the lender's household, they aren't going to refer you any business. Newsflash.
You have to be a likable person, because you can't just bring business to some other business. Because if you just bring business, but they hate you and they don't like you and they don't respect you, they're not going to reciprocate, bring that business. They give it to someone that they liked more, even though they didn't bring that amount of business. So it's a combination of giving value, helping someone else, but also being a likable, respected person that they can actually tie their name to. At the same time, like if you're out there and you're bringing them business, but you kind of have a bad reputation in the marketplace, do you want to tie your name to someone that's got a bad reputation? So it's a combination of being liked, respected, having that background of ethics and honor and respect in the marketplace, and then also bringing the value.
I know you're not going to send me every single lead you ever get, and I know that your leads are not going to build my business, but I also know that my leads can build your business. And so how can I help you build your business?
All right, guys, I'm excited to get Jeremy Kane on here. And if you do not know who Jeremy Kane is, you're going to know who he is here very soon as he's taken over, guys. Jeremy Kane is a two-time icon agent here at EXP. And we'll talk about kind of the headaches we had to get him over here. He had a big decision to get past, which may help you make your decision. But we'll talk about Jeremy's production. He did $26 million in 2022. Jeremy is also growing a team here at EXP, starting to grow very quickly. And just a short effort, he's already up closing in on 40 agents with his organization. So Jeremy is a top producer out of Colorado. And I want to get him on here, guys, to talk about sphere of influence and how to go out there and build it, how to nurture it, and how to scale it, and how to work with people once you go start that process of getting in conversations with them, which everybody knows how to do well, but they don't know what to do after that part, which is really the difference between high performance individuals and those that never build a business. So Jeremy Kane, let's get you on here. Let's ask you some questions about how you've done such a great job building out Colorado and having all these people saying all these good things about you all the time. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's up, Connor? Thanks for having me. Appreciate your time, and excited to kind of dive into this. I've kind of taken sphere of influence in the production world, which kind of was my, expertise and forte on how I built my production business. And now I'm kind of implementing it on a two-lane road in both agent attraction and continuing my production.
Well, there's one thing that we've had a conversation about that's a very important concept to understand for leaders, or really anybody in business that works with other people, which is, do we attract talent? And that's where we kind of stay in that world, meaning we're only bringing talent to work with as far as, in our case, agents or whatever business model you're in. Or do we find people that are not there and we help create the talent? There's a big difference. We can find people that are already successful in the business and work with them, or find people that are not successful yet and help develop them and help them become someone. And then we can work with them for a long period of time. Either way, we're going to get to the same outcome, right? But this is a big part of the business that most people forget about. And you've done a great job with it. So let's first kind of tell a story about how we got you over here in the first place. As you are I think you're number 60 ranked agent here at EXP Realty out of 87,000 agents for production. And you're the number 4 EXP agent as far as production goes in Colorado, which is incredible to think about. So how did we twist your arm enough to get you over here, considering your dad was actually your broker? And that's a common objection I get when I talk to agents, which is, I like my broker. And I tell them it's not about liking your broker, it's about doing the best thing for your family. So kind of give me an idea of your thought process as we went through that from your side, which I actually have never asked you, and then kind of give me an idea of how it worked out. And then let's go into kind of like some of the things that you've been doing over the past few years that have kind of made you a local big deal there. And we'll kind of talk about that and how others can replicate your success.
Yeah, I liked my broker too. I still like him. We're still buddies. He's coming over for the game this weekend. So that's that's the first and foremost. Honestly, my dad taught me everything I needed to know about the real estate business. He taught me, the contracts and the legalities and, professionalism and all the things. What he didn't, have is the marketing, because he was a licensed agent for 2 years, did well, kind of built through his sphere of influence, closed 10, 12, 15, 20 houses a year at times. But he got immediately into the management. piece. And so he's been a broker for a long time. He had his own independent company of, I think he got to 100 agents in the good times. 2008, 2009 came. He ended up closing that company and merging with another company in which he became a manager and employing broker of that company. Eventually, that's another story. But I knew, in my background, I also was a high school basketball coach for 10 years, won a state championship there. And then I kind of got too busy in real estate. So I set that aside. And so I have that leadership capability. I have that coaching. And I know that I was at 0 transactions once. I came into the business as a newly licensed agent. I knew I had the confidence to know that I was going to do it right because of my dad's leadership. But I had 0 deals at one point. I also was an agent that made 6 figures in my first 12 months in the business, but then kind of, plateaued at 6 figures for a while, between 100 and 150. And then I, stepped it up. So I've been at every aspect of this. And I don't think somebody who doesn't have their license or somebody who's a top producer can't elevate. And I'm constantly elevating as I go. Everything I do, my health, my fitness, my, family, my life as a husband, all the things are all about just leveling up, right? I don't want to waste 1 second of time on this earth being stagnant. Right. And so that's where I was like, okay, I talked to the employing broker who my dad has a boss above him. And I said, hey, I have a passion for recruiting and training. I have 2 to 3 agents reaching out to me a month, asking me what I do, asking me for some of my time. And he said he had somebody in place for that role. And that was, the opportunity I needed. Right. I'm so grateful he said that to me, because at EXP, I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I was able to join an organization like yours with so many assets above me that constantly challenge me and constantly take my business and my, leadership to the next level. And so it was a fairly easy decision. I called my dad and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. His exact words were, you've always been better at building business than I was. So I trust that you're making the right decision, and I'm always here for you, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of how it went, but that's me. Like I'm constantly about, okay, obviously my dad's my family, but I have a wife and now 3 kids. And so I have bigger, aspirations to continuing leveling up while also showing my kids how to be productive members of society and not settle. Because my number one thing is not to raise entitled kids, which we can talk about later.
Well, it sounds like you got a really good dad. I met him at least once, and he's a good guy. So it's a good thing you weren't living at home at that moment, right? Because he would have been like, get out, right? But no, I mean, it's very common that I talk to agents that are looking to make the move over, and they are concerned about having that conversation, and their broker's not even a part of their family. So you can imagine, guys, if Jeremy can do it, and it was literally his dad, and he's still letting them kind of come to Christmas parties and things like that, and it's not out of the family, you'll be okay too. And the worst thing that happens is, like, you come over and experience a new environment, it's not what you thought it was, and you go back. The best thing that happens is you do, and it was exactly what you thought it was, which was a bettering of your future and a better vehicle to get you to your future. Now let's talk about, how do we get to the future? Because a vehicle is one thing, which is the EXP business model, but inside of a vehicle, someone's got to drive that vehicle. And many times our driving process is affected by our thinking process, meaning sometimes agents, in our case, or employees or new entrepreneurs start something. And then what do they do when they start something new? Excitement's high, difficulty's high, and then emotions get frustrated. And then they start thinking the what ifs. What if I can't do this? What if the price is too high to pay with time, energy, emotion? And they start to talk themselves out of it, and then they sit down. So this is a very important part of leadership, which is, how do we take people that could become someone in the future that don't believe in themselves today and build that belief within them, and take someone that would quit on themselves, but get them to the next level. Now, I know you've done a lot of this with working with agents, and kind of talk about kind of like your background, sphere of influence marketing, and how you've done this. And, you're going out to the networking events and starting these conversations, and you're developing agents from the ground floor up, meaning you're looking at someone from where they are right now, which is probably not doing much, to where they can go to, as compared to what a lot of leaders do is they look at someone, I don't even know if that's leadership, where they're at today, and say, this person's not where they need to be today, so therefore they're not going to be there tomorrow. Therefore, the risk of me to put time, energy, and stress and all this into them today doesn't make sense, and they don't. So there's a big difference. Some help people get pulled across the finish line, bring them to the next level. And some just say, hey, do it on your own. And if you don't make me money, then I'm not going to spend any time on you, if that makes sense. And you're doing it right. And I think more people should do it that way, which is the creation of the talent of the partner and standing by them along their journey of emotional frustrations up and down. So let's talk about from the start of the process. You're a big networker and your business starts how? In your local market.
Yeah, in my local market, my production business honestly starts with my production partners, like not, my business industry partners. I'm partnered with the #1 lender in the state. I have great inspectors. I have great secondary lenders. I have, the people I surround myself with are top notch. And so that's huge for me. It's helped on my agent attraction business. But the fact is if I can get a conversation with somebody who's, thinking about buying today, in 6 months and 6 years, I can kind of plug them into my ecosystem, and there's no secret sauce to my stuff. I'm not a amazing YouTube. I'm not getting, hundreds of leads from YouTube or TikTok or anything. I'm building relationships with people. And that starts by part of plugging them into my ecosystem is sending them to my, favorite lender or the lender that personality matches them. And then they see immediately that I align myself with people who are professionals who take care of them and try and get them to the next step. And sometimes, as we all know, a buyer will call you and say, I'm ready to go. I have perfect credit. I have all the things. You send them to a lender. I'm fairly good at reading people and understanding the situation and asking questions that might lead me to a real answer. But you send them to a lender and all of a sudden they have a 500 credit score and they, are probably 18 months from anything, bankruptcies, all the things. Well, those people become, people that I don't just throw them out the window. Right. Because I build that relationship with them. I help them. I check in with them, not just like have a drip email kind of go out to them, which they obviously know at this point isn't personalized or anything like that. I'm constantly providing value on the market. So even if they're not getting like direct emails from me, which I do a weekly email, even if maybe they don't have the email, they don't check their email, whatever, they're not seeing that, someone's on social media. I'm doing weekly videos on social media and I'm becoming the market expert, leaning on my industry partners to, provide that information as well as follow up, to my expectation and bring that person along. Because the truth is I find more value and more, I feel better when I close a first-time home buyer in a $250,000 condo versus selling a $1.75 million house. Now, I do both of those things, but typically by the time they're selling a $1.75 million house, they've transacted with me 3 or 4 times, right? I'd rather take them from the beginning and continue to serve. Granted, I'm not turning down any first-time referrals in that price point, but that's real for me. That if that relationship, I just know, like, okay, yeah, I was renting and Jeremy got me into a home and helped me through home ownership through, this lender and this inspector helped me out and did a good job. And that is not replaceable with an algorithm from Zillow or, the next YouTube lead or the iBuyer or whatever. I have zero issues with my follow-up and all of the things after we close that person will not be a lifelong client.
Is very important what he's talking about here, guys. It sounds simple, but let's read between the lines here. This is something that the high performance leaders do and business builders do that the average person doesn't, which is why their income relates to, which is not where they want it to be. So attraction versus creation. He attracted a potential tenant lead, right? That's the attraction. But normally what most people do here is say, oh, well, I don't want to do a lease. And they throw that lead in the trash can. They take this person, they look at them as someone that can't benefit them. But what Jeremy's doing is saying, this is a starting process of a career opportunity with this person where I know instead of saying just not worth my time, if I invest in them, I'm going to help them get to their first house and then do a good job there. And every house that they have going forward, they're going to use me and they're going to also refer me to future clients and future potential individual I can work with as far as buyers or listings, right? Mm-hmm. And this is how just a very simple process on the front side of your thinking when the lead comes in, which is what type of leads am I throwing away, right? I've done this in all sorts of different ways in business, where if you just think about what this could become in the future and build a time horizon pipeline, meaning sure, these people aren't going to turn into a listing today, but if I start with them today and I start with more people tomorrow, and then that tomorrow after that tomorrow, and do this consistently over time, that in the future, 6, 12, 18 months later, when the beginning of the pipeline that started a year or 2 years ago catches up to the present, now these people are all buying houses consistently that I started the process a year or two ago by helping them get into the rental property. And over a career business like real estate, guys, think about what happens in 5, 10 years if you get into a consistent habit of creating future opportunities like this. Now, you're doing this also not just with potential clients, nurturing them, but also agents that you've worked with production, right? So a lot of times team leaders and brokers come in or have agents come in, and the agents kind of brand new, like what is saying, like a giraffe with wobbly knees or whatever. Yeah. And it's a lot of work for that team leader. And they're seeing this person as a front end time liability and emotion issue. And they're looking at them as a snapshot of, they attracted the person currently as who they are today. But what top leaders do is they see, how can I help this person develop and become someone better tomorrow? So kind of give me an idea of what it looks like when you're working with a new agent and your process to do this, because not every team leader is equal at EXP. And so people should be grateful to be partnering with someone like yourself who will do this type of handholding and working with them and helping develop this person and build their skill sets over time.
Yeah. And that's, I'm seeing it in my numbers, obviously. 20 people have been personally attracted by me, and I have 12 FLQAs currently, going on, I think 15. So it'll be 15 out of 20 here in the next couple of weeks. So that's what I'm taking these people that haven't done a transaction or have joined me and getting them into transacting with clients by looking at them. And I think my kind of upper hand is, obviously I'm a production, I have the production stats. It's not about me, but I didn't do anything. It wasn't a gimmick. It wasn't, social media leads. It wasn't that. It was dealing with people, right? In my sphere, finding connectors, connecting with them, having conversations, and, kind of farming them into either clients or raving fans. And so anybody who interacts with anyone, I can teach to do that with a little intentionality and grow their business that way. Then we're not saying, you have to do 2 videos a week. You have to, post 45 stories and all your kids all over the internet and all the things that, attract people. It's real things that you can do that don't really, we have the problem of introvert versus extrovert. But the honest truth is, if you're not willing to have conversations with people, you're not going to be very good as an agent or as, any business, 1099 that you're looking at. So it's about having people have conversations. One of my go-to sayings with my new agents, I sit down with them, have a 2-hour business planning, one-on-one in person if I can. If not Zoom, if we're, global now. So, but I sit down and I just say, okay, what do you like doing? Right? Let's take your life right now. Let's not try and reinvent something. You're a real estate agent now, so you have to all of a sudden go door knocking or whatever. Right. What are you already doing where you're interacting with people? Now let's just make that a little more intentional, right? And I train them in a short time. Say, for instance, people like going to church, right? This is an easy example. I say, okay, continue to go to church. You're going to have to, kind of focus on what's going on at your church, but you cannot possibly, on some of these bigger churches, you can't talk to every single person. So my intentionality piece is find the connector within that church. Right. And there might be a couple, whether it's a pastor, a youth minister, maybe it's just a churchgoer that you see talking to every single person and is setting up, the extracurricular, things or whatever. If you find 1 or 2 or 3 connectors within a certain organization, then you can just go back to being what you do, being present, right? Enjoying the church service or whatever that may be, but finding those individuals, and then you connect with them outside of the church. Hey, let's grab lunch. Let's go to coffee. And then in that meeting, or when we're pouring into the connectors, I train my agents to say, what can I do to serve you? Right? Do you have another business? Do you have, and I'm expanding as you see the reach and training this person to be a raving fan. But also if I can help them build their business, if they have an HVAC company, if they have a bakery, if they have, a life coaching business, whatever it may be, if I can gravitate and pull people from my sphere and help them build their business and continue to pour into them and connect with them, then I don't need to be the person that's going around to every person at church trying to be that realtor trying to get a deal. I can just go and be present and be myself, and that person's going to drive every single person they talk to me.
100%. And I've been talking about this for years. Like a lot of people in a different way, we can kind of look at this, are trying to get mentors and find a good local mentor. And people aren't just going to give you their time, guys. So think about what he's saying here. Going to group gatherings, local events, finding the heart of the system is what I call it, meaning the person that's basically the most involved, the one that knows everybody, and developing a relationship with that person. And that relationship with that person will develop relationships with everybody else that they've had pre-existing in that local market or in that kind of little niche area. So when I was trying to get my local mentors, what I did was I went to the local REI clubs and I went straight to the connector or the heart of the system, which is the person running the REI clubs. And what do you think I did? I asked them to work for them for free. So I didn't say, can you give me something? I said, let me give you something. And I literally started working the REI clubs. I did this for Tim Cook at West DFW REI. So you guys remember back in the day. I did this with Joe Boston at Dallas REI Club. And I helped work their REI clubs and help them run their businesses for free. And by being in proximity to this person that had been in the business for 10, 20 years, the connector or the heart of the system, what do you think they did? They introduced me a warm handoff to all these other top leaders and investors locally and everybody that I needed, saving me years of having to go out and develop these relationships myself because I'm leveraging the relationship of Tim or Joe in the warm handoff. And so it's very important to understand what Jeremy's teaching you guys. This is how it works behind the scenes. And it's very difficult in a tech-driven world, in a social media-driven world, to operate without remembering that we're in a people-driven world and there's nothing that's all digital. We have a hybrid world, which Tony Robbins said the other day on something I was watching, meaning even though we're cloud-based at EXP and lots of businesses are cloud-based, you still have the human side of the business, working with people, boots on the ground. It's a combination of both. You can't over-systematize and just completely social media away a business, even when technology even gets further down the road. There's always going to be the human element, and humans are what drive the world, right? Okay, so that's very important. Now let's talk about where you kind of see after you've gone out there, you've developed these relationships, you've met them at the events, now you're meeting them privately outside the event. Kind of how does that process work? And then like you're trying to help like the mortgage brokers and title companies get business and vice versa. Kind of go about that, your process on this or your mindset on that, where you're doing for them first, or how does that work? And then how does that lead to you getting them business and vice versa, and then building your business? And then what do you do once you get the relationships from one of these connectors?
Yep. And that's huge. And I'll go back to the start of that like when I first take someone out to coffee or something like that, if it's like an industry partner, so kind of shifting a little bit, one of the questions I ask them is, if you were going to buy or sell a home personally, is there a real estate agent that you have promised your business to? Now, inspectors, appraisers, lenders, contractors, they meet with real estate agents all the time. I have never once asked that question and not had someone say, no one's ever asked me that before. So take that little gold nugget. And I've sold a lot of houses personally for lenders and inspectors. Right. But also it's just different, right? It's just doing things a little bit different, and people catch on to that. Right. So it's not very uncommon for me to ask that question of a lender, and then the next week I get a lead from them. Right. And so I'm not asking them for their leads. I'm not asking them to build my business for me, which is what every single real estate agent listening to this conversation now has done. It's just saying, hey, have you promised your business to anyone if you were to buy or sell a home? Now, that completely guards my time, because if they say, well, my wife's a realtor, like, here's the deal. If your wife's a realtor and that money's coming into the lender's household, they aren't going to refer you any business. Newsflash. So I kind of, I say, okay, cool. Maybe there's something else they can offer, send me agents, allow me to speak, all the things. So I don't just stand up and leave, but that gives me a lot less time commitment to this person. Right. So I say, okay, cool. Like that's a 15-minute coffee, right? Versus an hour-long coffee meeting. If they're like, well, it's you, right? Because there's one promise, right? There's a promise that they're going to give me business, but they also now know that I'm a little bit different. And I preface that by saying, I know you're not going to send me every single lead you ever get. And I know that your leads are not going to build my business, but I also know that my leads can build your business.
That's good.
And so how can I help you build your business? These are the things, these are the people I'm connected to. I've done this with, you yourself have been on podcasts of people that I have connected you with, just growing that network and showing a little bit of that value and being that person that kind of helps guide that. Right. And so just helping someone else build their business. There's no better way to be their number one referral partner. Like no way at all. So I have an HVAC guy, right? He actually was just here the other day, serviced my furnace. I said, how much do I owe you? He said, literally word for word, nothing, Jeremy. You have single-handedly helped me build my business from day one because I'm constantly firing people to him, literally 2 or 3 referrals a week, right? Hey, it's winter. You need to have your furnace serviced. Call Austin. Hey, your furnace broke down. Call me. I'll connect you with Austin. He'll get you taken care of in the next 24 hours, right? All of those things, but I'm constantly driving him business and there's every single niche, right? And I still work on building them out. Like I'm never done with this. So that's kind of how I do it. But my goal is to help other people build their business. Because if I do that, I send my client or a prospect a referral for something and they have a great experience, which I only kind of control. But if they have a great experience, then they're going to call me every time they need something. Hey, I have a birthday party for my 3-year-old. Do you have a baker? Yeah, I do. One of my clients, giving them business, right? But when they say, hey, I need to sell a house, who are they going to call? Who are they going to call? Me. Or, hey, my friend needs a appraiser to, for a refi or whatever. Do you have somebody? Yes. Send me your friend's info. I'll connect with them and send them the appraiser.
Yep.
Right. So I'm just constantly driving people to my industry partners and utilizing my industry partner relationships to connect with other people and be value all the time. Right. Yep. And that's it.
What you're really doing is you're going viral, word of mouth viral on a local level behind the scenes. So, what happens when you go viral on the internet? A bunch of people talking about it, talking about your channel behind the scenes, and people go to it all of a sudden and you have all these unique viewer profiles typing and looking for this person and all of a sudden explodes. So what he's doing is, this is a secret to referrals. You get it all the time in young entrepreneurs in business. Nobody ever sends me a referral. Like, why don't they just send me referrals? Did you send them to them first, right? So if you guys want referrals, you do first, don't ask first, right? So you give first always, and then don't ask for anything in return. But if you get in the habit of giving first, just naturally people will start giving back to you. So if you guys just start sending referrals to title companies, referrals to mortgage brokers, referrals to contract, guess what's going to happen? At some point, as long as they know what you do, they're going to bring referrals back to you. That's how it works. But it's never going to be an ask first. It's always a give first. And it's a give without asking anything in return. From that side's perspective, when they don't feel you're doing it with intent, meaning, oh, I'm doing this for, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. It's when they believe that you're doing it with good intent that they want to help you back, because referrals come from when they actually care and they want to help you back. Or sometimes we're talking about here, hoping that you get other business back. But usually long-term referrals and real relationships and partners come from, hey, I got a lead coming in here. I could just simply take no time and send it to Jeremy, or I could take a little bit of extra time and help Jeremy out. But that's going to depend at my lifetime moment when that lead comes in or whatever happened. How was my relationship in the previous days leading up to that moment when I got that lead, on who I sent it to? Because what if I have a great relationship with John and not Jeremy? John may get that referral, right? So start thinking about how this works, guys. It's a transference of good energy between people that stays in those good energy people environments. And that's why if you're not in that good energy world, if that makes sense, you don't ever see this happening. But this is how top elite entrepreneurs do it. Now, Let's assume that they bring you somebody, you gave some referrals out, and now you had one bring a referral back to you. How does that process look? So you're going to say they brought you a potential, agent to work with or something like that. Now, this agent's a little bit newer. What's that process going to look like when you start bringing them over here to work with them and help develop them? Because Jeremy's goal is to develop agents into potential, not just bring someone over that's already producing and just say, make me money. If that makes sense, he's actually trying to take people to the next level, and he's done a good job at it. So like when you brought up your statistics with your producing agents earlier, guys, he brought up that he's about to be at, almost 70-75% of his active agents on his front line producing. Right now, the industry standard is way under 50% of agents actively produce. Like if you look at a lot of other organizations and things like that. So that's way up there in comparison. Just point that out.
And absolutely, this is important because it's kind of cyclical, right? It's all combined. So now we have a lender who I've, given some business to, maybe gotten a lead or two or closed, but now they're giving me an agent, right? And so they're saying, because here's the deal, all you EXP agents, lenders talk to agents every day. That's their job.
That's right.
So, I don't know. That's just a hint, a nugget there. But now I remember, okay, I have this situation currently. I had a lender send me an agent, and now that agent is in my organization and is now exposed to all of my lenders and all of the things. And I constantly am like, how's this lender doing? How's this lender? Because I want to keep that agent with that specific lender, because that's just how I reciprocate, right? I don't want a lender that I send a lead to that's calling, maybe for a refi and decides to sell their house, and that lender sends that client who I referred to them originally to, the flavor of the week. So I'm very careful about where that lead came from and referring them right back to where they came from. But so that's the case there with this lender is sending me this agent. Now I'm kind of bringing that lender in, if they're maybe on the periphery, or maybe they're my preferred lender, right? And we're continuing to build that relationship together. And I almost massage that relationship as I build my relationships to help them, stay top of mind. But it's also just driving them back business, right? It's cyclical. It's like, okay, cool, here you go. Now they're getting my production business, they're getting this guy's production business, and we're helping grow this agent up together, if you will, right? Because experienced lenders, can help just as much, right? Or, then maybe you make a connection to a title company because they didn't have one. Again, my title rep gets all of my agents, people. And then there's maybe this title rep over here that does something a little bit different and special, and, maybe they get that one. And so I'm able to have multiple relationships with multiple industry partners in the same exact field because I'm taking care of them. And if I tell lenders now, like, hey, I work with the number one lender in the state, I also have 2 or 3 other lenders that I absolutely, love and have used a ton of times. Maybe I'll give you, a lead here or there, but I also have 35 agents, right? So let me kind of make an introduction to a personality that fits you, and then they can build that relationship with that lender, and they're sending them business and they're doing that. But I'm the guy that facilitated that. Yep. And so if that lender would then give me an agent, then maybe I'd stack it under, that agent, just to kind of develop those arms, those legs. You talk a lot about the 3 legs of business. And I think it applies not just to, EXP and rev share, it applies to all sorts of business, right? If I can have this pod over here working with this lender and this title person, and then this title person, and this lender are, sponsoring an event that we're having for the Wolfpack, or, it just is about being a good person and continuing to help others build business. If you haven't figured out right now, my number one passion in life is not only to help people build wealth through real estate, but to use real estate as a vehicle to help everybody I touch build their wealth in whatever industry they're in. So I love helping other people build business.
Notice that last part there. You said you have to be a good person, a likable person, because you can't just bring business to some other business. Because if you just bring a business, but they hate you and they don't like you and they don't respect you, they're not going to reciprocate and bring that business. They'd give it to someone that they liked more, even though they didn't bring that amount of business. So it's a combination of giving value, helping someone else, but also being a likable, respected person that they can actually tie their name to, because they don't want to, at the same time, like if you're out there and you're bringing them business, but you kind of have a bad reputation in the marketplace, do you want to tie your name to someone that's got a bad reputation? So it's a combination of being liked, respected, having that background of ethics and honor and respect in the marketplace, and then also bringing the value. But
and your expectations. Like a lender screws up a deal, they're off the farm. They're out of the loop, because that's messing with my people, right? If I have a client that gets all the way to the closing table and they're like, oh, we didn't see this, or we didn't see this differential or whatever, and they can't close that transaction, that is a massive waste of my time at that point, as well as a complete emotional disaster for that client. Right. And so you continue to have the expectation of production. And the truth is that people that are at high levels and produce at high levels actually like that, versus the fly by night people, because those are the people they're competing with. Those are the people that are throwing out the internet interest rate leads, whatever. And so that's what you have to do. And it's all about loyalty, but it's also having an expectation. Like, hey, yeah, these are my people. When I send you them, they're my people. And you take care of every single one of them at a different level.
So here's the thing they all need to think about right now to see if they're doing it right, because what you guys now know is that those local title companies and mortgage brokers, they're referring leads to people. So if you're a RE/MAX agent, they're sending RE/MAX agents to somebody. If you're a KW, they're sending them to somebody. If you're a DXP, they're sending them to somebody. If they're not sending them to you, think about that. Why not? Who they're sending them to, and how do you change that in the future? Because if it's not you, they're sending them somebody, right? So figure out how to be that somebody. It's very important to understand this. This is how to build a career business. And what we haven't really gone into, Jeremy, is maybe let's talk about the value of relationship capital here to kind of wrap this up. Then we'll show everybody how to kind of follow you. Because really what we're talking about is relationship capital here. Everybody talks about other things we can invest, money, time, emotion, stress, but think about what he's avoiding with those things I just brought up. Think about how much money he has to spend, or how much less money he spends over his career running paid ads to drive cold market traffic, because he just has enough business through referrals and people sharing referrals and bringing to him over time that he literally can't even work that amount of leads, right? It's now just trying to figure out systems to actually work the amount of transactions, how much marketing money saved, how much time developing the new relationships, because think about also the time invested in the beginning of a relationship versus the time to nurture it over a long period of time, right? So once we have that developed relationship, we nurture it, and the nurturing process is still time consuming, but it's not near where it is in the relationship building process, right? So you're thinking about how much money you're saving, time you're saving, how much stress you're saving over time. So kind of give me an idea of, like, maybe you have some numbers or something like that of where you think how much of your business comes from relationship capital, sphere of influence, nurturing, building strategies like this, as compared to traditional, hey, I'm going to radio ads, billboards, and this type of stuff. And then maybe give some of these agents that are a little bit newer, starting out, trying to figure out a path to their career long-term, like how impactful this process has been, for the entirety of your career, and like why they need to kind of think like this, instead of thinking just how do I go out and mass blast paid ads on the internet, and how do I actually build a real recurring cyclical referral business over time.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. We started kind of with the, story about my dad's brokerage and that kind of stuff. And Ed Milet, somebody we both follow, talks about being the one in your family tree that kind of changes the trajectory. Okay. My dad's fairly, respected. He's a broker. He's done that. He's kind of a salaried broker. I'm the one, right? I'm the one that has made more money than both of my parents have combined in a year in 1 year, right? I'm the one that's changing that financial future for the family. It's not like we were poor. It's not like we were there, but it's a level up. It's next level, right? And so that kind of goes back to the relationships. Okay. 2021, I closed 52 transactions, 1 transaction a week with just a transaction coordinator. Not to be braggadocious, not to talk about myself, but 49 of those were from sphere of influence in one way or the other. Of the 49, 36 of them were repeat client or repeat client referral. And so what that's doing is just managing that relationship, setting expectations, asking the right questions. And I don't ask people for referrals every day. It's not what I do. I don't go about, but I provide a level of service that people remember. And then I'm able to stay consistent, stay top of mind. I use social media. People are on social media. I do not use paid ads. I have literally closed one deal out of 400 transactions in 9.5 years from a paid ad. One. And it was one of the worst transactions I've ever had in my life. And so it's been all sphere of influence. And it's not, that's the thing that people miss, especially with clients on the production side, is, oh, that person's a renter. Oh, that person's not qualified. They don't mean anything to me. I will take any person out that wants to see 4 houses on a weekend and give them the experience. I'll even talk to them about the contracts. I'll show my expertise and give them 2 hours of my time, right? Because if I give them 2 hours of my time, they know how I work. They know how I operate. They're maybe walking through their dream house, right? Maybe that's not in their wheelhouse right now. And maybe they never buy a home, but they're going to, every time someone talks, have you ever heard anyone talk about real estate at a party, at dinner, or whatever? I do everywhere I go. I hear the word real estate. So people are talking and they say, hey, like this agent, Jeremy, like just took me out. Like I didn't have to sign a contract. I didn't have to talk to him about numbers, make sure you're following your laws and your state and your safety is all good, disclaimer there. But if I can build that relationship and that rapport, they may send me 4 clients and never buy a house. Is that a good return on investment? Sure. Now they're going to buy a house eventually because I'm going to, nurture that. I'm going to connect them with the right lender who focuses on credit repair or whatever the hurdle may be. But people are so on to the next lead. This person, what can this person give me? Right? Instead of what can I give this person? What can I give this agent who's never had the focus from a broker? What can I give that one new agent my time? 15 minutes a week as a meeting, 2 hours up front as a, business planning meeting. If I can give that to them, they may never close a house in their life because I can't teach them how to work. I can't train work ethic. I can give you all the stuff that I've done. I can, but if you're not willing to put in the time, it's going to be hard for us to work, but I'll give you the keys. I'll give you the keys to the car. Do you drive it? And so you focus on, there's not one person, there's not one conversation that I cannot, get something from as far as an agent, as far as a transaction, but I give first. I give it all away. And I say, this is what I'm doing. I give my time. Sure, I'm not going to go show them houses a million times, but it's just that, like, be a little bit different and don't say, oh, you better be pre-approved or I'm not even going to look at you. No, right? Because you've just taken that person, maybe that life-changing person, right? You recruited Mike Sherrard. Mike Sherrard was a, decent producing agent. He wasn't the number one agent in the whole world, right? He was a great agent. He's turned into something very different as a result, right? And so, that's maybe a little bit of a rough example for a brand new agent, but a brand new agent that starts out and is, has no idea what to do, or maybe has been in the business for 6 months and hasn't closed a deal or whatever, they're worth, 3 to 5 hours of my time up front to see if we can change their trajectory.
But you need to ask yourself, I say that, can I or will I take the risk? And this is what you need to understand if you're in a apprenticeship type position where you're looking for someone above you, like a Jeremy, a rock star, or like a high level entrepreneur to become a mentor. You're asking them for them to take a risk on you because their time has a value to it, and it's got a big value to it, high hourly income, because they've spent a lot of years obtaining that knowledge and wisdom that's created that income, right? So the thing is, why most people don't do things first for others is because there's a risk to doing it. What if I go and I spend some time helping this person and they don't follow through? What if I take some time and I give, these referrals to this title company and they don't give anything back to me? Then they look at it as I'm taking a risk of time, energy, emotion, money, whatever it is, and it's not coming back to me. And that's what stops people from doing it first. You cannot have that mentality. You just need to serve and do it and give. And guess what's going to happen? People will start naturally, because of what's called the law of reciprocity, start giving things back to you. So if I brought Jeremy a Christmas present at a Christmas party in front of all our family, and I'm like, hey, Jeremy, I spent all this time shopping for this. It's and thought of you. Here it is. And he doesn't have one for me. He's splitting out the back door to the gas station to grab anything that looks like he thought about me, right? Because he doesn't want to look bad. And so same thing is if we're doing something for others and they care about the relationship, they're going to figure out a way to do something for us. Now, I've met a lot of like successful agents doing this, having agents all around the world now. And I can tell you for a fact that the most successful agents outside of a few high level inbound lead generators from the internet did it all through the way Jeremy's talking about. They either started out through going to networking events locally, building those relationships through referrals, or they started picking one or two neighborhoods in their local market and just aggressively farming it over and over until they got into the first couple transactions with homeowners in that neighborhood. And then they went through a very similar rapport building process and just massively under delivering and over promising and doing the best they could. And what happens is eventually those people in that neighborhood become close with that individual and they start everybody that they know on the street. And before you know it, you become the neighborhood realtor, right? So they're becoming family realtors, working with people, getting referrals within the family. They're becoming relationship capital, sphere of influence network referral top leaders in the market with other third-party companies. And then they did it through canvassing neighborhoods and focusing on one specific area and building it out. And over time, in 20 years, they don't even do any marketing. Most of them I meet, like the ones that are doing 50 to 100 million a year, they don't do marketing. They're not doing much of it because they have too many leads coming to them. So this is a very common pattern I've seen. Now, I know people want to probably find out more because this is not the only thing Jeremy does, guys, by the way. This is just part of his business. He does the other stuff too. So he's got a lot of great stuff on his social media followings and he's created a new podcast. Jeremy, how do they find you? Where can we send them to? I'll put all your information below this, but now if you want to shoot them to probably your best resource where they could kind of follow you or how they could get in touch with you and where you think they could best get the best information that you're putting on the internet. And then I know you're coming out with some new things here. I know you've got your podcast and then your course, I think.
Yeah, it's all kind of coming together. The Real Estate Agent Playbook, harnessing some of my coaching background there. The Real Estate Agent Playbook on YouTube, the Real Estate Agent Playbook on all podcast platforms that just launched. The YouTube channel has been around for a while. The RE Agent Playbook at Instagram. And then, yeah, those are all places that we can talk and you can kind of follow my stuff, but I give it all away, on my YouTube channel. I also have started mini courses. My very first mini course is just a mini course on sphere development, which is a lot of the stuff I just talked about, giving you more of a tactical, visual aid in sense to create and kind of organize how to go about finding the connectors and do the things. So that's all absolutely free. You can find it all through my YouTube channel or the podcast.
Yep. And just remember, guys, business is not sexy. It's not always these flashy things and all the high powered, paid ads and stuff like that. Business is consistent, meaning we have to do the right things over a long period of time and just doing these things that we know we need to be doing. So just get out there, build those relationships and develop them, guys. And I promise you over time, your network's going to grow. And one of my mentors always just tell me is my network is directly equivalent to the size of my net worth. So meaning the more people I have in my network, in my phone or in my email list, there's a time and dollar attached to that person. So that the bigger the network, the bigger your net worth. And if you're doing the right practices, working with referrals and relationships. But Jeremy, I just want to say thank you, man. You're a good friend of mine, and I know your time is not free. You are a busy guy. You are like number 60 producing agent out of almost 90,000 agents globally, and the fastest growing, most successful brokerage out there running. So, congrats on that. That's the tip of the spear. And guys, make sure to reach out to Jeremy if you want to work with us and join the Wolfpack. You just reach out to Jeremy and let him know that you want to have a call with us, and we'll meet you on Zoom. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, and we'll get this out to you. And thank you, Jeremy, for coming on here. See you when I see you.
Woo!